had just traveled thousands of kilometers from Montreal to reach this remote, middle-of-nowhere area situated near the far northern Lake Atimabec. Granted, that was a great distance to cover for a sole client, but word had it that he was a particularly wealthy one. Carl had to drive a bit further north in order to meet with wealthy industrialist William Hamilton. William Hamilton was a prosperous owner who had acquired various businesses, as well as metal mines in this northern region. Carl, always diligent in his work, always carried his log on him, in which he scribbled down thoughts and leads alike during the course of his investigations. The Polaroid, Carl's long-standing and faithful ally, had seen its share of husbands caught red-handed cheating. There's always something out there waiting to be snapped away, even when removed from civilization. Hamilton is waiting for Carl in the general store. It was time for him to get down to business. William Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent man. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others, an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortune. And these ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Was not made aware that winter would come early this year. The North made clear who was the boss up there. Snow, which didn't care much about the date when it felt like dumping its first load of the year. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Circumstances, Carl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Carl thought, the target would become the man himself. Spanning several hectares of virgin forest blanketed in eternal snow, the Manistan region, comprised mostly of bellowing caribous and inviolate lakes, wasn't exactly touristic. It was said that its lands had harbored the Cree people for thousands of years, but since the Industrial Revolution, it seemed that all they harbored were metal mines. Very few souls claimed the territory surrounding Lake Atimabec. It could barely be called a village, an enclave, or a settlement perhaps. Anything that illustrates middle-of-nowhereness bordering the backwoods of the Cree Kingdom. Since 1941, the general store provided the populace with various goods that couldn't be bought from nature itself. William Hamilton had recently taken over the place. In fact, the whole region was now his. A milkman had to drive by every week to fill the bottles. The fresh milk indicated a recent visit. Whatever happened here, things got pretty rough, and not a trace of Hamilton. You don't leave ammunition out in the open like this. Was Gilles Lachance that careless? Carl was used to strange phenomena, but a chunk of ice like this, as if an iceberg came out of the ground, that was a first. By all appearances, the general store also served as a post office. Letters and packages awaited the locals' daily visit. Carl proudly remembered an essential fact of his Survival 101 class in the Army. Wolves won't approach crowded areas. Or was it about bears? Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one. Gilles Lachance, Carl recollected, was the general store's manager. Should Hamilton not be available, he was the man to talk to. Or what if Hamilton had moved up his appointment with his physician? The track was fresh. That meant the car sunk down just a little while ago. Now where the hell could the passengers possibly have gone? Carl could quite possibly stumble upon this Gilles Roy in the course of his investigation. He opted to hold on to this storybook, just in case he gets an occasion to showcase his manners. Carl felt engulfed by a wave of cold, and for a second thought he was fainting. All of a sudden, 4 phantasmagoric figures were fixing their gaze on him. What the hell was going on? Carl sensed that the cold was beating a retreat, as if he was moving away from some kind of center of gravity.